Lara's eyes fluttered open to a blinding, sterile white light. Her head throbbed, and her body ached in ways she had never felt before. The walls around her were metallic and cold, smooth to the touch but unwelcoming. She tried to move, but the restraints holding her on the table were tight, precise, and unyielding. Somewhere in the distance, a low hum vibrated through the floor, and the sound of footsteps echoed off the walls. Fear began to rise in her chest, sharp and heavy. She tried to remember how she had ended up here. The last thing she remembered was being captured by a group of strange, insect-like aliens during a transport mission near the outer rim of the galaxy. She had been alone, on a routine scouting operation, and suddenly everything had changed. Now she was on this station, surrounded by aliens whose language she did not understand, whose eyes seemed to pierce through every thought she had. The door to her small cell hissed, and a figure stepped in. Towering over her, it had multiple limbs, glistening exoskeleton plates, and eyes that shone with cold intelligence. It made a sound, a clicking, guttural language that seemed to vibrate in her chest. Lara swallowed hard. She could not understand the words, but she understood the meaning. It was warning. A warning that her life here was no longer her own. After what felt like an eternity, the alien left. The door hissed shut and Lara was alone again. Panic threatened to take over, but she forced herself to breathe slowly, to think. She needed a plan. She needed to survive. She could not allow herself to be just another lost face in this station. Hours, or maybe it was days. Later, a loud mechanical voice echoed through the halls. It called out a sequence of clicks and tones that made Lara shiver. Guards arrived to take her from her cell. She was led down long corridors where other captives were already gathered. They were from different planets, different species, but they all shared the same look in their eyes: fear, hopelessness, and resignation. The line was organized, efficient, and terrifying. Captives were herded like livestock. Lara noticed the women who had already been processed. Some walked out with vacant expressions. Others were not walking at all. She knew deep in her gut what awaited those who went ahead of her. The thought of the so-called selection chamber made her stomach turn. As she shuffled forward in line, trying not to draw attention to herself, her eyes caught movement. Among the crowd of captives, a man stood apart. He was human like her, though his uniform was different from the alien guards. There was a calm about him, a sense of control. Lara's heart raced. Humans were rare here, practically myths. She could hardly believe her eyes. The man's gaze met hers briefly, and she saw recognition there, something more than just surprise. He knew what the aliens planned. He had come prepared. She did not know it yet, but his presence meant a glimmer of hope in an otherwise hopeless place. The line moved forward, each step heavier than the last. A loud chime signaled the next captive to be processed. Lara's knees felt weak. Her turn was approaching. The alien officials scrutinized every detail of her body, scanning for health, genetic traits, and what she now understood were the qualities that made her ideal for the breeding programs. Panic clawed at her chest and she fought to control it. Jack, the human standing nearby, shifted slightly, his hand brushing against the console of the alien scanner. It was a subtle gesture, unnoticed by the towering overseer, but it would set events in motion. He had been here for months, learning the station's patterns, waiting for the right moment to act. And now the moment had arrived. As Lara was guided toward the chamber, the alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the metallic walls. Alien guards shouted in their harsh tongue, trying to regain order. Jack used the chaos to move, slipping between guards, using the station's architecture to his advantage. Lara stumbled, almost falling, but Jack caught her arm. His grip was firm, reassuring. "Stay close," he whispered in a language she understood. Her relief was immediate. Finally, someone who spoke her language. Someone who was not an alien. She nodded, fear mingled with trust. They ran through corridors that twisted and turned like a maze. Every corner held a potential threat. Guards, scanners, drones that hovered silently. But Jack's knowledge of the station allowed them to avoid detection. Lara kept close, her senses on high alert. Every sound, every shadow could mean capture. "You're human," she finally said, breathless. How are you here?" Jack's expression was calm, almost amused. "We're rare, yes. But humans adapt. We survive. That's what they don't understand. We can be small, weak-looking, but our minds, our courage, that's what they can't calculate." Her fear did not disappear, but she felt a spark of hope. Perhaps survival was possible. Perhaps they could escape this nightmare. They came to a large control room filled with blinking lights and alien symbols. Jack quickly disabled security systems, opening a pathway toward the station's docking bays. Other captives joined them as they passed, inspired by Jack's quiet authority and Lara's determination to move forward despite fear. As they reached the docking bay, they were confronted by the alien overseer, a massive figure with multiple limbs, armor glinting under the harsh lights. Its eyes locked onto Lara first, then Jack, and a sound like a scream and a growl combined issued from its mouth. Jack stepped forward, positioning himself between Lara and the overseer. He pulled a small weapon from his belt, one that emitted blinding light and a pulse that disrupted the alien's senses. Lara gasped. Humans may have seemed weak, but this was their ingenuity at work. The overseer roared, calling reinforcements. Guards flooded the bay, but Jack and the small group of captives fought strategically, using the environment and the alien technology against them. Lara found herself dodging, pushing, and even helping others escape, realizing that she was stronger than she had imagined. Fear was still there, but it no longer controlled her. Finally, after a tense struggle, they reached the exit. A small spacecraft hidden in the shadows of the docking bay awaited them. Jack helped Lara inside, and the other captives followed. She looked back at the station, the place where so many had lost hope, and felt a mixture of rage and relief. Rage for what had been done, relief for being alive. As the spacecraft launched, leaving the massive alien station behind, Lara finally allowed herself to breathe fully. Jack sat beside her, and she looked at him with gratitude and awe. Humans, she realized, were capable of more than the aliens could imagine, not just strength, but courage, ingenuity, and the refusal to give up even when all odds were against them. The stars stretched ahead, endless and bright, promising freedom. But she knew the fight was far from over. The Empire would not forget the chaos, and they would come after the humans and captives who had escaped. Still, for the first time, Lara felt a spark of hope, a sense that survival was not just possible. It was inevitable, with humans leading the way. As the spacecraft jumped into faster-than-light travel, Lara's mind replayed the events over and over. She had come close to becoming a tool for the Empire, a breeding machine stripped of identity and freedom, but thanks to the human waiting in line, she was alive, and she would never forget it. Jack looked at her, a faint smile on his face. "This is only the beginning," he said. "We have a long journey ahead, and we'll need all our wits to survive. But humans, we have a way of surprising even the most powerful enemies." Lara nodded, determination hardening in her chest. She would survive. She would fight. She would prove that humans, though few in this galaxy, were forces to be reckoned with, and she would stand beside the human who had saved her, ready to face whatever dangers the galaxy held. The stars rushed past, each one a promise of freedom, each one a reminder of the strength and courage that had brought her this far. And in the quiet hum of the spacecraft, Lara realized that hope, once thought lost, could still shine brighter than any empire. The engine filled the cabin, steady and reliable, a comforting rhythm after the chaos of the station. Her heart still pounded from the escape, but a new feeling had taken root: determination. She would not be a victim again. Jack sat across from her, monitoring the ship's systems. His expression was calm, focused, but there was a spark of pride in his eyes. He glanced at Lara. "You did well back there," he said. "You stayed calm when it mattered most." Lara shook her head, still trying to process everything. I almost became one of them. A machine. I can't believe I survived." Her voice wavered, but there was steel beneath the fear.
"How did you know how to save me?"
Jack leaned back, his gaze fixed on the endless stars. "I've been studying this empire for months. I know their routines, their weaknesses. Humans have one advantage they don't: unpredictability. They calculate, they plan, but we improvise. We survive in ways they never expect." Lara felt a flicker of hope. For the first time, she realized the human spirit was more powerful than anything the Empire had. It was not strength or weapons alone. It was courage, determination, and intelligence that could defeat even the most terrifying alien forces. The spacecraft glided through the void, small and fragile against the immensity of the galaxy, but within it Lara and Jack felt safe, if only for a moment. She watched him work, manipulating the controls with precision and confidence. He seemed ordinary, almost small, but in this place he was extraordinary. Suddenly the ship jolted violently. Alarms blared and red lights flashed across the cabin. Lara's heart leaped into her throat. "What is it?" she shouted over the noise. Jack's hands moved quickly, adjusting the ship's shields and navigation. "They followed us!" "The Empire sent pursuit ships. They'll try to intercept us before we can reach the safe zone." Lara's eyes widened. "We're not ready for another fight." Jack gave a small, determined smile. "We don't have a choice, but we have one thing they can't predict." He gestured to her. "Humans, you included." The pursuit ships appeared as dark specks in the distance, growing larger with terrifying speed. Jack pushed the spacecraft to its limits, weaving and dodging through the asteroid field nearby. Each movement required precision, courage, and split-second decision-making. Lara gripped the seat, her knuckles white, her mind racing. "You're amazing," she said, finally finding her voice. "I've never seen anything like this." Jack glanced at her, a faint grin forming. "Stick with me and you'll survive. That's all that matters." The pursuit ships fired energy beams, and the spacecraft shook with every impact. Lara could feel the heat and power of the attacks even through the reinforced hull. Panic threatened to rise, but Jack's calmness anchored her. She realized that fear could be controlled. That courage did not mean the absence of fear, it meant acting despite it. With a sharp turn, Jack led the pursuing ships into a dense asteroid cluster. Rocks the size of buildings hurtled past, but the tiny human-controlled ship moved with an agility the Empire's massive vessels could not match. One by one, the enemy ships crashed into the asteroids, their pursuit ended by the very unpredictability Jack had counted on. Lara exhaled slowly, relief washing over her. I can't believe we survived that," she said. Her voice trembled, but the spark of courage within her burned brighter than ever. Jack nodded, keeping his eyes on the stars ahead. "We have to reach the safe zone before they regroup. It's a small human outpost hidden on the edge of this system. Few aliens know it exists, and it's our only chance." Hours passed as the spacecraft hurtled through the void. Lara watched the stars and thought about the women she had seen in the station, some already lost, some yet to be taken. She had been one of them. She had come close to losing herself completely. But now she had a choice. She could fight, she could survive, and she could help others. As the outpost appeared on the ship's sensors, a relief unlike any she had felt before settled over her. It was small, a barely noticeable station orbiting a gas giant, but it represented freedom. Jack guided the ship down carefully, avoiding detection by any remaining Empire patrols. Inside the station, humans and a few allied alien species greeted them. They were wary but welcoming, understanding the cost of the journey they had just witnessed. Lara felt a sense of belonging she had not known she could feel so far from Earth. Jack led her to a quiet room where they could rest. Lara sank into a chair, her body trembling with exhaustion. "I never thought humans could do this," she said softly. "I thought we were weak compared to them." Jack shook his head. "Strength isn't just muscle or firepower. Humans have something the Empire doesn't understand: the will to survive and the ability to adapt. You saw it today. You survived because you refused to give up." Lara's mind went back to the station, to the breeding chamber, and to the other captives. Her fear turned into determination. She would not let others suffer as she had. She would use what she had learned, what she had survived, to fight back. In the following days, Lara trained with Jack and the outpost's defenders. She learned to handle weapons, navigate spacecraft, and read alien technology. Her confidence grew, but more importantly, her courage hardened. Every day she became more human in the sense that the galaxy would soon learn to respect. Resilient, clever, and unyielding. One evening, as they reviewed plans for a mission to rescue other captives, Lara asked Jack, "Do you really think we can defeat them?" "The Empire seems too powerful." Jack smiled, a faint glint in his eyes. "They are powerful, yes, but power alone isn't enough. Humans are unpredictable, clever, and stubborn. That's what makes us dangerous. One human, one mind that refuses to accept defeat can change everything. And together we can change everything." Lara felt a surge of pride and hope. She was no longer a captive, no longer a victim waiting in line. She was a fighter. And alongside Jack, she would challenge the might of an empire. Their first mission was risky. They had to infiltrate a smaller station controlled by the Empire, gather intelligence, and rescue a handful of captives. Jack briefed the team, highlighting weaknesses in alien security systems, patrol patterns, and defense protocols. Lara listened intently, absorbing everything. She realized humans' greatest weapon was knowledge combined with courage. When the day came, Lara and the team moved like shadows. They used stealth, strategy, and improvisation to bypass guards, disable cameras, and open locked chambers. Every step tested their courage, but the lessons from the station guided them. Lara felt alive in a way she never had before. They found the captives, scared and trembling, in cells similar to those Lara had once been in. She approached them calmly, reassuringly, using words and gestures to show them that they were not alone. Hope began to replace fear, and for the first time in their lives, the captives saw the possibility of freedom. The return trip was tense. Empire patrols were aware of the infiltration and pursued them aggressively. But Jack and the team adapted, using unexpected routes, decoys, and the environment itself to their advantage. Lara's courage and quick thinking made the difference at several points, helping them avoid capture. Finally, the team returned to the human outpost safely. The freed captives embraced their rescuers with tears of relief and gratitude. Lara looked at them and felt a sense of purpose she had never known. She had survived the Empire's attempt to strip her of identity, and now she could give others the chance she had been given. Jack approached her, quiet pride in his eyes. "You've done well, Lara. Today you became more than a survivor. You became a part of something bigger. Something the Empire will never understand." Lara nodded, determination shining in her eyes. "I will never forget what they tried to do to me, and I will never let them do it to anyone else." In the quiet of the outpost, as stars sparkled beyond the windows, Lara felt a sense of belonging, strength, and hope. Humans were small in number, scattered across galaxies, but their courage, intelligence, and spirit were unmatched. They were capable of surviving, fighting back, and changing the course of events even against overwhelming odds. As she prepared for the next mission, Lara knew one thing with certainty. She was no longer a victim. She was human. She was courageous. And together with Jack, she would face the Empire and prove that humans, though few, were forces no alien could ignore. The galaxy stretched before them, vast and dangerous, but full of possibilities. And Lara, once almost lost to a machine's cold calculations, now felt unstoppable, ready to fight for freedom, justice, and the human spirit.